What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
But we got to start in Houston with the Texans. We finally heard from their new head coach, David Culley, yesterday. And look, the guy's in a tough spot. He'd love to keep his franchise quarterback, Deshaun Watson, if only his franchise quarterback would love to stay in Houston, which he doesn't. Culley made some comments on a recent podcast, which made it seem like a trade would happen soon. Then something changed, and he had a presser yesterday to try and clean all that up. Take a listen.
Will Deshaun Watson be the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans in 2021?
He is our starting quarterback as of right now. He is our starting quarterback. Things happen between now and then we'll see what happens.
See, Coach, you just open the door.
Right now.
You just open the
right
door
now.
Right now. Exactly. You've been around, Coach. You know better.
He is our starting quarterback.
Right now.
Mm-hmm. That's right now, and hopefully in the future. Very committed to Deshaun as our quarterback. He is our quarterback. He's the only guy we got under contract at this time right now. Nick and our personnel department are in the process of looking at other guys out there right now, and we're going through that process daily, and we'll continue to do that. I don't know about him not wanting to be a Houston Texan, but what I hear from the outside, I just know that he's a Houston Texan. He's ours. We're committed to him, and we're going to go with that.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall on wherever David Culley was in between those two interviews. Hey, Brandon, what'd you make of David Culley's comments? Both of them.
Just an absolute mess, and it invalidates what Nick's been saying for the last couple of weeks, maybe even a month, that, look, nothing's going to happen until draft night. All these things that they're saying, the hard stances that they're making down in Houston is just to drive up the price. And right around draft night or right on draft night, you'll potentially see a Deshaun Watson move. That's what it said to me watching this. You know, he goes on to Huddle and Flow with the seasoned vets, the reporters, and he should have known better. You got Jim Trotter over there. You got Steve Weiss over there. Like, these guys they're not there for you. They're there for the hottest story. The hottest story is Deshaun Watson. And he got so comfortable that he actually gave them the blueprint. Like, yeah, not right now. Like, he's our quarterback right now. And then what happened? Because you asked the question, you said, something happened. Well, Nick Caserio came down and said, this isn't the Patriot way. That's not how we do things. Keep things tight, keep it inside, and continue to stick to the strategy. And that's why, Nick, he went out in the press conference, and then he changed his tone, his body language. You saw how uncomfortable he was. But I'll tell you what, you were right, buddy. It validates everything you said, resident GM.
Well, yeah, well, I appreciate that. I do think Deshaun's going to be traded. I don't think it's going to happen this month. I don't think it's going to happen the first couple weeks of April. I do think it will happen either on draft night or a couple days leading into the draft. The benefit to it happening on draft night is if they work the timing exactly right. Right now, teams can only trade picks 3 years in the future, so the latest first-round pick you could get is 2023. On draft night, if you have a deal in place, you could trade the player you draft and your 2024 first-round pick. So in theory, you could get 4 first-round picks 4 years into the future on draft night. So that's why that's the very specific, important day. And I do feel for David Culley in that on both sides of it. First of all, with respect to David Culley, who I'm rooting for, one of the reasons he got this job after 40 years of waiting was because it is such a difficult job because of the Deshaun Watson situation. So one of the reasons that he was able to get the job was because a lot of people didn't want to have to deal with moments like this. Now, Trotter and Weish, and I don't know Steve very well, but I know Jim very well, and I have massive respect for both of them, they did exactly what Brandon said. They made David Culley feel so comfortable, he was very honest. And in the media, we ask guys to be honest, but we don't often reward honesty. But he was also, I thought, Wilds, a little more honest than we normally hear, even in the press conference when he was trying to clean things up. When he said something, he's like, guys, he's the only quarterback we have under contract. Like, of course he's our starting quarterback. He's literally our only quarterback. And so it does give you a window into not only what the Texans might do down the road, but how blindsided, whether they should be or not, they must have been when Deshaun made it clear he wanted out. Because there is no good plan B from Deshaun Watson, but they don't have any type of, if Brady leaves, at least we have Stidham. They don't even have a Stidham in the building. And so I do think they're in a very rough, it's bad. They're in a rough spot, and I think Culley just put a voice and a face to it.
Yeah, well, he did a better job than I would do, because I'm just 100% honest. They're like, what do you think about Deshaun Watson? Like, he's probably out of here, guys. Let's just be honest. He's never going to put on a jersey. I'm excited for Tua, though. Like, what? Because every other coach gets a chance to just tell the truth and look forward. And poor David Culley has to be in the rear view mirror. He's only been on the job for a month. We go through the other coaches, Brandon. Robert Salas is like, we got a bunch of picks. Well, I got a bunch of cap space. Who knows what's going to happen? And Sirianni's like, Jalen Hurts, you hear? He's going to be our quarterback. Urban Meyer's at Trevor Lawrence's pro day. He's having a ball. Brandon Staley's got Justin Herbert. Who knows what the ceiling on him is? We got Arthur Smith. It's like, Matt Ryan could be pretty good. I just saw an old guy win the Super Bowl. And we were like, remember we lost a game by actually scoring against the Lions? Maybe if I stop that. Dan Campbell, hungry for when he's not eating kneecaps, gets to see what Jared Goff can do. But poor David Culley, he's got to sit here and sort of like try to thread the line on the truth versus like the subterfuge versus, trying to drive the price up. But here's the thing, Brandon, when you talk about driving the price, Nick Caserio, who is like the draft guru from the Patriots, has nothing. He's got nothing. He's got nothing in the first round. He's got nothing in the second round. And next year he's got one pick. So look, these are the two teams. And unfortunately, I do not think it's the Jets. I think it's some combination of these picks for the Dolphins and Tua going over to Houston. It's odd that I know the calendar, Nick, that we have to kind of play it out like this, but I'm expecting a move to the Dolphins on draft night. Is that what you see?
Well, I think the Dolphins make a lot of sense. I don't know if the Dolphins are as out on Tua as everyone seems to believe. Maybe I'm just holding on to hope that Tua gets a fair shot there. But I do think he gets moved. But I've got something I want to ask Brandon, which is on topic but a little different. Which is, to me, Brandon, I've said for a long time, now I've obviously never played and I haven't coached, so I haven't been in the locker room. But I think the media overrates distractions. I think the media sometimes it makes distractions a bigger deal than they actually are for the players. This would be an instance, Brandon, where I do not think you could overrate the distraction if they don't trade Deshaun and he's not there. I feel like your season would be dead on arrival. A new coach, a lot of new personnel on that team, and if you show up to training camp and you're playing and practicing and talking to the media and Deshaun's not there, as a player, would that be a tenable situation at all?
Hell no. I mean, it's the same thing we saw play out in Houston on the basketball side, right? They're like, we're willing to get uncomfortable. We don't want to set a precedent where guys can just say they want out and we're going to let them out. And then all of a sudden, when it starts trickling down into the locker room and it starts getting toxic, that's when guys are like, you know what? We can't handle this anymore. So you saw that in Houston with James Harden. You saw guys Boogie and everybody's wall start saying stuff in their press conferences. And then what? The next week, trade it. Boom, just like that. Just imagine what's going to happen in that locker room. In the offseason, you have almost 90 guys in the locker room. And then you start, weeding through that and getting that roster down to 50-something guys on the team. And those guys are paying attention. They're looking at this. So right now what you're going to have is this team in limbo for months. And you don't want that. You want to be able to just draw the line and say, look, this is where we're at right now. These guys in this locker room, we're going to go get it done with them. We're going to rebuild, or whatever you call this thing, rebuild, retool, whatever it is, you got to go into that. But the next 3 months, if you keep Deshaun in that locker room, you're going to have other guys come in and say, I want to trade. I don't want to be a part of this mess. So you may lose some guys that can really push your franchise forward in the next 3 years.
And Brandon, you said rebuild, retool. There's a different word I would use. The Houston Texans were the last expansion team the NFL has had. They're about to be an expansion team again. Wild, you just showed it. They don't have a surplus of picks. They have one player on the roster that has real value, like A+ value, and they are going to be starting from scratch. It's going to be like the year 2000 all over again. We have a new expansion franchise, Jenna. It's the Houston Texans again.
And none of this, as we talked about, should be blindsiding David Culley. He knew exactly what he was getting into with Deshaun Watson when he took this job. All right, we have plenty more on this coming up. I want to talk about Super 6. They are giving away some cash on Sunday. Download the Fox Super 6 app. Enter the selection special contest for your shot at a $5,000 guaranteed prize. Answer 6 questions about Sunday's bracket reveal for your chance to win. We will take a break. Much more First Things First coming up right after this. Hey, First Things First listeners. I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports. Plus, a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Time for drawing a blank. Nick, your Kansas City Chiefs making a couple moves yesterday. They released former #1 overall pick Eric Fisher and fellow starting tackle Mitchell Schwartz. But Brandon, I'll start with you. The Chiefs releasing 2 offensive tackles should have quarterback Patrick Mahomes feeling blank.
Ooh, Nicholas, unprotected. Bro, you saw what happened in the Super Bowl. You guys have no chance when you have no protection. You literally have no offensive line. I know they're talking about their left tackle and the right tackle, but bro, there's no center, there's no guard. Like these guys that suited up for you guys somehow, some way last year are now gone. They're a free agent, restricted free agent. There's a massive problem in KC. This explosive offense that we've been seeing, I don't know if it's there anymore. You guys have to fix this, and you have to fix it fast. I don't care how great Mahomes is. I don't care who you have at receiver or tight end. If he's not standing upright, you have no chance. And that is the star power. It's the strength of your team. So y'all got to get this right, or we may not even see them come out of the AFC. What are they in the AFC West, or what is it, West. Nick? Where are you guys in?
AFC
West.
AFC West. You got AFC West. You got that right. Unfortunately, you got everything else wrong. The commentary surrounding this is so infuriating, and we're going to spend more time on it later. Mitchell Schwartz, the offense seemed pretty explosive last year. Mitchell Schwartz stopped playing in early October. Eric Fisher popped his Achilles in the playoffs against the Bills and was not going to be healthy this entire season, most likely. If he is, he'll be back on the team. It should have the Chiefs, it should have Mahomes feeling agile. Is he going to have to run around a bit more? Yeah. But that worked for them all year until they ran into a dominant defensive front in Tampa. We would be foolish to act like other teams can duplicate what the Bucs did when we've spent the last 2 months talking about how special Todd Bowles and that Bucs front seven are. Luckily, he's agile and the best quarterback in football, so he'll be fine and they'll get it figured out. But the commentary surrounding this is it's already driving me crazy, Wiles. These were 2 injured players. They're injured. That's why they're gone, because they're not going to play football anymore. Okay. But we can talk more about it later.
He'll be fine. Okay, he'll be fine. Will Ferrell meme. I don't believe you. I went meme-tastic for a few of my favorite memes, Nick, while I was thinking of you when this news broke. The first one, the old Colts play. Oh, new play for offensive line protection from Mahomes. Fantastic play, one of the greatest plays of all time against the Patriots, of course. We got another one from your favorite game, Nick. Oh, good Photoshop here by Jared. And then, just to ruin the fun, Mitchell Schwartz comes in and actually tells the truth. It's like, look, because people started being like, this is what he gets for the big deal. And Mitchell Schwartz is like, that's not the way it goes, guys. Look, compared to any other QB, so to take less money. The pandemic dropped the cap. That's the real. So Mitchell Schwartz protecting Patrick Mahomes, even as he's not on the team anymore. So well done, Mitchell
over
Schwartz,
the
but
cap.
I did enjoy the memes.
They have nothing. It's over.
Let's talk about Juju. So Sports Illustrated posted an Instagram poll asking if Juju would be back in Pittsburgh. Guess who voted among other people? Juju. Juju picking the option that he would not be back with the Steelers. So, Brandon, let's play it out. The quarterback that could benefit most from Juju is blank.
Well, probably Big Ben, because of the familiarity that they have between the two. It's hard to replace that, man, that type of chemistry. Jay Cutler knew when I was going to break my route off early. Jay Cutler knew if I just twisted my shoulders just a little bit where I was going. So that's hard to replace. But that guy right there, Tua, could benefit the most. Because Tua, there's something special going on in Miami. And Tua is the X factor. And I know he has that championship pedigree, that he has that championship mentality. If he can elevate his game and ascend to another level, which I think he can, wow, this team could be a contender next year. So if you insert a veteran wide receiver that you can depend on, this dude, Juju, is tough. He's one of the toughest receivers we've seen since, like, Steve Smith, Hines Ward. And that guy can give you 80, 90 catches and be that security blanket. Tua could be special. The Miami Dolphins could be special.
Yeah, I'd love to be with you on the Dolphins, but, have you looked at their tackles lately? Oh, wait, none of us can name who their tackles are because we're not going to freak out about that in April only for the Chiefs? Okay, got it, no problem. My answer is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson could use Juju because he's a good intermediate. Exactly right. Who are their tackles? Who cares? But they're a team on the rise. The Chiefs, it's over and done with forever. The Lamar. Because Juju also, in addition to being a good receiver, is a good blocker, and to me, his style fits what the Ravens do. The toughness and the things you're going to have to sign up for to be a Ravens receiver in this style of offense. So I say Lamar Jackson, Wilds.
All right, hear me out. Earlier this week, I claimed to be the nation's #1 Daniel Jones defender, and I will stick with it. Just give it a little checklist, Giants checklist. Star running back, healthy, coming back, correct. Pro Bowl tight end, correct. Top 10 defense, yeah, that's true. Just a little bit behind the Bucs, correct. Special teams from the old mastermind Joe Judge, correct. Great wide receiver, incomplete. Daniel Jones is the answer. Hook Daniel Jones up with a real wide receiver and watch him cook. Let Daniel cook. I don't have the ring to it.
But who are their tackles, Wilds, but who are their tackles? Do we know? Who are their tackles?
Nobody knows.
Oh, give me 10 seconds. I'm going to Google it. Give me 10 seconds. I'll come back.
Ravens GM Eric DeCosta was asked about attracting free agent wide receivers like, I don't know, Juju to go play there. He said, quote, I don't really think too much about that. Brandon, Eric DeCosta's comments are blank.
This is a fake out. This is one of the reasons why I didn't have a smooth entrance into the NFL the first 3-4 years, is because I couldn't deal with the politics. It was people were being too diplomatic. He knows they need a receiver. He knows that offense needs someone that can go out there and be reliable on first down, on third and short. They don't have that right now. They need Lamar Jackson to take his game to another level. They need Greg Roman to take his game to another level. And to do that, they need a receiver. This has Antonio Brown's name all over it. Why? Because I don't see a team that's going to go out there and pay him $8, $9, $10 million. But this team is desperate. And you can easily insert this guy and this dude go slap off 1,200 yards, 10-plus touchdowns, and potentially 90-plus catches in this offense. They already live down here in South Florida. They already work out together. So they have this whole South Florida vibe and South Florida mentality. I see Antonio Brown's name all over this Baltimore Ravens fake out.
Yeah, well, if it's not a fake out, then the comments are foolish. Because you look at the Ravens, they've got their quarterback settled, they got their running back settled, the defense is in great shape, they have a very good offensive line, particularly when their all-pro left tackle comes back from injury. It's a tackle everybody knows down in Baltimore. What they don't have is wide receivers. And so because of that, this should be the number one focus of the draft, free agency, everything is addressing that position. They also got tight ends, by the way. And so I think Brandon's right. If he's not right, then these comments are foolish. It's either he's lying or, I don't want to say dumb. He's either lying or foolish. I'll say that. I think he'd rather be lying. So I'm going to go with their foolish wild.
Okay, so I went with 42 because Hollywood Brown was 42nd in yards in the season. Their second best receiver, Willie Snead, was in the over 100. Now the team that knocked him out of the playoffs, the Bills, Stephon was number 1. Cole Beasley, when he's not getting rocked like a baby, was number 23. So if you're going to give Lamar this huge contract, why don't you give him some weapons too, so we can earn that money rather than just having to run the whole time?
Preach, Wilds.
They can afford it. Ravens Wilds have just under $17 million in cap space to spend. Talk to Luke now.
LeBron
Head out to LA. Do the Lakers have enough around LeBron James to repeat? Toss that around next. First things first.
LeBron loves his roster.
Let's just talk about it now.
Doesn't want them to trade for an MVP.
Hey, First Things First listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
Guys, who's luckier than us? We got Chris Broussard joining the conversation. Good morning, Broussard. We got to talk to you about what's happening in Lakerland. They were back at practice yesterday. They had an 8-day layoff for the All-Star break. LeBron was there. LeBron's healthy. LeBron's rested. LeBron's healthy. Same can't be said for everyone on that team. Bron asked about the state of this roster with that trade deadline quickly approaching. Here's what he had to say. Listen.
I love what we have. And obviously we've had some injuries. With the big one being the big B-Day of my brother today in AD. That's the biggest injury. But, from there on, we've had some other, things as well. But, I believe when we're whole and we're full, we can compete with anyone in the world.
All right, Broussard, is LeBron right? Does the Laker team have enough to win a title as is? Look at those shorts.
Jenna, I know Brandon Marshall wants me to jump all over the Lakers and go back to the Clippers and all that. But look, LeBron is right. LeBron should feel confident. I like the attitude because he knows, look, they're coming off a championship. They've got two of the best 5-6 players in the world. They have the #1 defense in the league, and that's without their best defender, Anthony Davis, missing significant time. So LeBron should feel confident. I like that he's spreading that into the atmosphere, and his teammates should feed off of that. LeBron, Anthony Davis said the other day, he and LeBron talk all the time. I'm sure LeBron is in his ear, like, not only we need you to rest up until you're 100% physically and you can come back because we're going to need you at the top of your game, but also mentally. He's got to be getting in AD's ear about his game, putting on his game face and bringing his A game. Because, look, the AD we saw over the first half of the season is not enough. Because AD was averaging 22 points a game. The Lakers are 18th in the league in offensive rating. That's not enough to beat Brooklyn. And let's keep it real. That's who we're talking about. We're not talking about the Clippers as good as they may be.
Either. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Philadelphia. We are talking about the Brooklyn Nets, who are an offensive juggernaut. And they're going to need AD at the top of his game to beat them. The second thing is they need three-point shooting. And Wes Matthews not giving them the stroke that they thought he would. He's shooting 33% from three. He was a 38% career shooter. Dennis Schroeder shot, I think, 38% last year, down to 31% this year. They're 25th in the league in three-point shots, attempts, and percentage. So they got to get better from the three-point line as well. They've got enough, Jenna, but they should be scouring the trade market. Everybody's talking about Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge as bigs. But like I said, their defense is still number one in the league without the rim protection of Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. They need shooting. Go get a J.J. Redick. Go get a Wayne Ellington from Detroit who's shooting 42% from three. They need to shore up themselves around the arc. And then, yeah, if you get an Aldridge or Drummond,
so then they don't have enough then. Too. So then they don't. The question is,
I'm just saying you always need to
right that the Lakers have enough to win? No,
he said compete with any team in the league. He said compete with anybody in the world.
Listen,
they should feel like they can beat anybody in the world. But yeah, you
don't want to talk.
Did the Nets feel like they had enough before they got Blake Griffin?
But that's not what Jenna asked us. That's not the question. That's not the question. You don't want to talk about the Clippers. I will talk about the Clippers. Forget the Nets. You got to earn that. You got to make your way to the title game for us to have that conversation. They don't have enough to beat the Suns. They don't have enough to beat the Clippers.
Oh, gosh.
You got Gasol, who's underwhelming. He's averaging, 5 points, less than 5 points. You got Markieff, who was a big part of your success last year, and he's averaging 5 points. AD, that is the X factor. So you can talk about the three-point and how terrible they are at the three right now. We can talk about rim protection, but the biggest X factor is AD. We keep saying, what if? This dude is dealing with a calf and an Achilles. And now he got to come back. He got to get into mid-season form. He has to get his feel back while knowing that he was playing underwhelming and terrible in the first half of the season. So this is a big what if. Nick, they won't get out the West because you got to go through the Suns and you have to go through the Clippers. I'm sorry, but this team has gone from the number one spot. And when they go into the postseason, they will be at the fifth spot.
Just stop with the Suns.
That's what's going to happen.
We'll give you the Clippers. Stop with the Suns.
I'm telling you. All right.
Hold on. Just wait. I wish Broussard wouldn't have, and I love Broussard. I wish Broussard wouldn't have talked over you so much at the end there, Brandon, because we were so close to having a perfect clip for mid-June when the Lakers win the West to go viral of Brandon Marshall saying they'll lose to the Suns, can't beat the Clippers, don't worry about the Jazz, but now it's going to be a little muddled.
And did I
so
mention
when we make our postseason compilations of the Nobody Believes in Us Lakers 2.0, that clip, Broussard might have saved you from being included in there. So here's the thing, America. I'm old enough to remember all the way back 2.5 months ago when the Lakers were the overwhelming favorites. And the only thing that's changed out west is they've become more of a favorite out west. Because the Jazz, you know who believes in the Jazz? Nobody, not even the Jazz. That's why they're all in their feelings about being picked last in the All-Star. They're like, damn, this could have been our moment, the All-Star game, because it certainly won't be our moment when we lose in round 2 in the playoffs. You know who believes in the Suns? Nobody. You know how I'll know someone believes in the Suns? And I love Chris Paul. Love him. Let's see if Robert Sarver makes a move at the deadline. Let's see if the Suns believe in themselves enough to say, you know what? Hey, DeAndre Ayton might be available for a star right now. Let's see if they try to go all in, since they've got a 36-year-old point guard, Devin Booker, a superstar, or if they know they can't win. And the Clippers, I don't know if you guys have been watching the Clippers. Two things happen in Clipper games. They blow their opponent out, or they're in a close game and they faint and fall all over themselves down the stretch. What does that remind me of? Oh, wait, last year. So the West, they're actually better positioned for, and they have a better overall roster than last year. And Broussard can say this is all about the Nets. The Nets got to get there. The Nets do have to get there, and the Nets are going to have to get past Milwaukee, and they're going to have to get past Philly. And if they do get there, what you're going to have facing in front of you is a team with the second best center in basketball against a team who right now plays Jeff Green at center. So good luck with that. I'm excited to watch it happen. So yeah, the LeBron is right, and Wildes, as you know, if he didn't think the Lakers had enough, he would say it. He has historically said if he thought a team needed to make a move, he's not saying that. And so we know it's not just political, because he has said in the past if a team needs a playmaker or needs more, he's not saying it because he knows this is the best team in the NBA, Wildes.
Bring me Mozgov. I need a big guy. I want Mozgov.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Broussard.
Yeah.
I think that Nick, and maybe you, but I'm not sure, and Brandon's the only one. Me and Brandon, maybe we're just worried, or maybe we're just great athletes, are the only ones super worried about AD's Achilles. Like, if we were going to go play, whatever, tennis, Broussard, I'd be like, Broussard, yeah, I'll meet you on the court at noon. My Achilles is acting up. But, I'll be fine. You're like, Wildes, no, buddy. Just relax. I want you to be 100%. Right. Don't do anything. Speaking of Achilles, when we look at the buyout market, the person that we're looking at, he's actually released. What do you think about Boogie as far as, he's not getting a lot of attention? We've heard Whiteside, I heard Drummond, heard JaVale, but that's a weird machination to get him back to the Lakers. LaMarcus Aldridge will say, do you feel like Boogie should be an insurance policy since Marc Gasol is obviously not working out?
I'm suffering a little bit of brain fog I'm still reeling from Brandon saying the Suns are actually contenders to win the West. I'm sorry. Let me gather my senses together. Boogie Cousins, no. Boogie Cousins, no. I wouldn't even bring it unless you just want to have him in the locker room.
Tucker's
He's a good guy. He got along with LeBron, all that. PJ Tucker would help. Andre Drummond would help. Hassan Whiteside obviously brings rim protection, and some defense. But like I said, their defense is fine. What they need is better shooting at the three-point arc. I'm not saying don't get a big. LaMarcus Aldridge is interesting because for his career, he's been known as a great mid-range shooter, and that's what he still is. But he's extended his range to the three-point line, shooting 36% from there this year, and he's actually putting up about 4 a game. So I think Aldridge could help them. And if I'm LaMarcus Aldridge, I'm actually looking at the Lakers. I mean, above everybody else. I assume he wants to win a championship. It's not about going somewhere and putting up numbers. So that could be something for the Lakers. But I'm out on Boogie. He's not going to be a game changer anymore.
Brutal.
Jenna, when I took broadcasting boot camp, the NFL provides this service for current athletes, current football players to actually learn about broadcasting. And the first thing they teach you is answer the question. And the question is LeBron right that the Lakers have enough to win a title? LeBron said they do. Everybody else is up here. Well, I got Chris up here talking about, they need to add Aldridge. Go get J.J. Redick. They need to shoot. So here's the answer. Look, they aren't good enough, guys. Even if AD comes back, he needs to first get in shape, and then he needs to be better than what he was. The guys that you have on that team, they're underwhelming. They're not playing well. Gasol, Markieff Morris. Dennis is giving you 15, but is that enough to beat the Suns, Chris? Is that enough to beat the Clippers? I don't think it is, man. And then you're talking about going against the Nets. No chance.
They've got, Because, first of all, it is because they have LeBron James. Second of all, luckily for them, the playoffs start in 3 months. So I think Anthony Davis is going to be back. But we don't have enough time to deep dive into this. But just a little thought exercise for my fellow panelists and for the audience to marinate on. Let's think about the teams that Vegas says are the 4 most likely to win the title. The Lakers, the Nets, the Sixers, and the Clippers. And let's think about the injury concerns for all 4 of those teams. The Lakers' second best player, Anthony Davis, is out with an injury. The Nets' best player, Kevin Durant, has played 20 games in 675 days and is still dealing with a hamstring. The Sixers' best player, Joel Embiid, has never played a full season. And the Clippers' best player, Kawhi Leonard, has not finished a year looking fully healthy in 5 years. So the thought exercise is this. If we're going to play the injury game, which is the team of that list most likely to be impacted by an injury come the postseason, or a player not being 100%, and which is the team least likely? Because I would posit the team least likely is the Lakers, and the team most likely is Brandon's beloved Nets, with the Clippers and the Sixers slotted in between. Maybe I'm wrong, but we can't just say AD's dealing with an Achilles.
Can I quickly respond to that? Okay, AD, second best player on the Lakers. He's injured. He's out. What happens? They start trending in the wrong direction. They're losing. They lose 4 games in a row before the All-Star break or whatever it was, or maybe snuck in a win right before the All-Star break.
That's right.
And then you go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, no Kevin Durant. And what happens? They go on an 8-9 game winning streak. They're the hottest team outside of the Suns in the NBA. So maybe there is something to this Nets thing. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they don't need him. Maybe Kevin Durant, third option. Third banana.
The Suns, buddy. We got to take a break.
Stop, Jenna.
We have some breaking football news on the other side about Cam Newton.
Let's go.
We're back right after this.
We're back. Where's the breaking news bar? Cam's back for the Patriots.
Back here, first things first, we got some breaking news to pass your way. According to a report, the New England Patriots are bringing Cam Newton back to New England. It's a 1-year deal. Remember, Cam had a pretty up and down first season, but we've heard whispers this offseason that his head coach, Bill Belichick, big fan of the job Cam did last season, despite only throwing 8 touchdowns all year. We got LeVar Arrington with us. LeVar, good morning. Thanks for hanging out. I know it's early out there for you. I want to start, though, with Brandon. Brandon, are the Patriots making the right move here, bringing Cam back to New England for another year?
Absolutely. This is a win-win for the New England Patriots and Cam Newton. Cam Newton gets an opportunity to actually prove it. You know, we had an opportunity to sit down with him on our podcast, I Am Athlete, and he talked about, look, I didn't have the offseason. I didn't have the preseason, which nobody did, but he felt like he needed it. 1, he was coming off injury. And 2, this is a complex situation where when you look at Josh McDaniels and how he does offense every single week, it's different. It's not just 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and then a running back. It could be 3 different wide receivers in Army and Navy, et cetera, et cetera. I was in that offense. So now Cam gets an opportunity to prove that what he said and what he's been saying is actually true. And I like this because if Cam can get back to where he needs to be and Bill Belichick does his job, man, this team could be right back in contention. But then on the other side, it's a win-win, LeVar, for the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick because he's cheap. I mean, you're paying him a little bit more than what you paid him last year. I think it was a little over $1 million, so it's damn near, league minimum. And then 2, he's willing and able to sit on the bench. Like, he knows when he's not playing well that you can go to him and say, hey, Cam, I'm going to sit you down for this quarter, or Cam, we're going to go with this guy. And he's been a good sport about it. Now, will that be the same? Will he have the same energy this year if Bill Belichick does that? I don't know, but Bill Belichick isn't scared to put Cam Newton on the bench, and then Cam Newton is willing to say, you know what, I'm not playing well, so Stidham, go ahead and take the reign.
I think it was a good decision as well. I'm surprised. I mean, especially after hearing Rodney Harrison come out and say that Cam had no more good football left in him. I almost felt as though there are too many experts maybe coming out and putting the pressure on Belichick and the Patriots for Cam, not being able to do it. I didn't see that. I saw Cam Newton that at times had struggles, but this team at times had struggles. Was it Cam's throwing the ball all the time, or was it Cam's receivers not being able to get open all the time? Was it the offensive line struggling at times with different things that were going on? Was it the play calling and the comfort of the play calling at times? So not being a Cam Newton apologist, but certainly saying that it made sense to bring him back for the simple fact that, one, he didn't. You alluded to, he didn't have a real offseason with this team. And there's a difference between having an offseason with a team that you're familiar with and an offseason that's shortened and you just came in as a free agent. You know that, Brandon. I know that. It's never easy to adjust to a different team, especially, I'm assuming, as a quarterback in the National Football League. So he bought them time. He brought a leadership to that locker room that they needed desperately because of the people they lost due to opting out and obviously losing Tom Brady. So I like the idea of bringing Cam back. He has a season under his belt of learning what this offense is about. And if his health truly is fleeing, then this is the year that you make that definitive decision. Maybe you don't even carry him the entire season if he doesn't show that he's healthy and available. Right. But I like the move, and I think that Cam worked to earn having one more year's time to be able to do it.
So I think that last part you said, LeVar, is really interesting and I think important, which is I think Cam earned this opportunity less with his play and more with his attitude, his intangibles, the things, oddly enough, that Cam has been criticized the most for throughout his career. Because even if he had a full offseason, even if they had 3 all-pro receivers, no opt-outs, and Josh McDaniels' offense was incredibly simplistic, if all those things were true, Cam wouldn't have been good enough last year because his arm wasn't right. I've watched every game Cam's played since his 1 year at Auburn to right now. I used to bet on the Panthers almost every week just out of loyalty to Cam. You cannot convince me that Cam Newton last year was fully healthy. You just can't. Now, if your concern is Brandon, you can try. I watched how hard it looked for him to throw. Okay, go ahead, try. Tell me.
Okay, so Cam Newton's throwing mechanics, his motion was always flicked. All right, go back to Auburn, go back to Florida, go back to high school. Mm-hmm. There's always like this little itch and hitch to it, and just this wide range. Okay, so we know that. Now let's turn on the film, the Miami Dolphins game. What did we see? We saw clear shots. We saw linebackers, nickels, just coming in and smacking Cam Newton. We saw these guys coming in, and there was nobody looking at them. There was no running back saying, "Oh, that's my guy." There was no tackle coming off, no right tackle, left tackle coming off their man, helping the guard, and then picking up the outside threat. So I say that to say this. Cam Newton was in his head last year. And as a player, when you're in your head, there's no way you can show well. There's no way you can look good. And this is the quarterback position. He wasn't able to get those guys lined up right and in the perfect protection before the snap. So pre-snap is where everything happens. Post-snap is easy. That's muscle memory. So that's the problem with Cam Newton, is that he wasn't able to...
Go ahead. You can finish. Sorry.
No, that's it. All I'm saying is this: is as a player, pre-snap, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know where you're going with the ball. And if you turn on film before Cam Newton, what do you see? Tom Brady standing in the pocket for 6-7 seconds to throw the ball. He's always been protected. They always did a phenomenal job in their scheme. Last year, they couldn't even get into their offense. Cam Newton couldn't even get into his progression because somebody was chasing him down or smacking him in the mouth. So if you fix that and the offseason gives you the ability to do that, then you're going to see a much more comfortable Cam Newton in the pocket to be able to go through his progression and deliver the ball where it's supposed to be. So that's my way of trying to convince you. It's like if you give him time.
Well, I think that, right. But I think it actually is in Cam's benefit if he was hurt last year. Because while everything Brandon just said is true, Wilds, I know you watched every single snap of Patriot football last year. there were times where it was a 3-step drop, it was a first read, it was a 7-yard hitch, and Cam skipped it to him. There were times where it looked like his right shoulder was not right. And I think that clearly the Patriots believe he can get right, and I think the Patriots also understand that it's not exactly a surplus of great options for him. And Cam was there. They like him. He worked hard. He now better understands the offense, and hopefully he gets right. But that's my biggest concern for Cam is, I think it was TJ Watt, did that TJ Watt hit 2 years ago in Carolina permanently alter the trajectory of his ability to throw the football? Because he, to me, has only intermittently looked right since then.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, I agree with you. We had plays where there's plenty of protection, and Cam's bouncing it in front of guys. And I'm trying to be the most optimistic Cam guy, and I'm excited because I'm just generally optimistic. But we don't have the weapons. And then Cam went on the podcast N'Keal Harry could be good. Guys can get open. If Julian Edelman, Hall of Famer, comes back, maybe we'll be all right. But LeVar, I don't think Brian Flores sees this news and is worried. I don't think Robert Saleh's worried. I don't think McDermott's worried. I think Belichick's happy, but I don't think this move strikes fear into Patriots opponents, which takes my optimism and brings it down. I wish we had if we signed Jimmy G, I think people would be a little bit nervous. I think we're going to see Jimmy G go to another level. Cam, all right, they got Cam again. They're going to run the ball. They threw for, didn't throw for 10 touchdowns last year. So I'm trying to be optimistic, but I don't think this move is putting fear in Patriots opponents' hearts.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily about putting fear into their opponents' hearts. I think it's about doing what's best for your team. And when you look at Cam, they're 1 yard away against the Seattle Seahawks from maybe changing the entire trajectory of their season. They go into Baltimore and they beat a Lamar Jackson-led, pretty doggone good Baltimore team at the time. I don't really look at this decision as a horrible decision because of this overwhelming narrative that continues to persist and drive about Cam not having any more toothpaste in his tube. I just don't buy that. We look at him skipping passes. Other quarterbacks have skipped passes. Other quarterbacks have thrown the ball away. When you look at the judgment of how people have played the game, I look at it from a results-driven standpoint. Would this New England Patriots team have had the success that they did with Jarrett Stidham? And I think we all know the answer to that. This was supposed to be a season where you say Bill Belichick shows that the Patriot way is overruling or overwhelmingly the reason why Tom Brady and New England had success. We did not see that. You know what we saw? We saw a player in Cam Newton who's much maligned for what he can't do to throw the ball at times, actually put a team on his back and carry him to the amount of win totals that they were able to get during the course of this season. And I think that goes unnoticed. Cam Newton bought this New England Patriots team time. You bought them a time. It's like, what? You bought them time? Yes, you bought them time, because the record that they would have had versus the record that they did have with Cam Newton calls for them giving Cam another opportunity to at least show that he can either start or be a backup on this team. I think we unjustly and we unfairly judge Cam Newton way too often. And I think we look at Cam as being this perfect specimen of a person, which physically speaking, he is. So when we look at him, the things and the expectations that we place on Cam Newton are sometimes unfair based upon, everything is fair, obviously, but in theory and in reality, unfair, because we're judging Cam on a different level than what we are on anybody else.
All right, well, now we get another season to see who the real Cam Newton is. I think you said it. We'll see if he even makes it through the season. Maybe he does. We're talking about another quarterback now on the other side, Deshaun Watson. Did the Houston Texans just open the door yesterday to actually trading their superstar quarterback? We talk about that next, and we'll have plenty more on Cam Newton coming up. Big East tournament continuing tonight with a pair of semifinal matchups. You got Georgetown taking on Seton Hall. That's at 5:30 Eastern, followed by Creighton and UConn. It's only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Gentlemen, time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Our breaking news this morning, according to a report, the New England Patriots running it back. They're going to bring Cam Newton back for a reported $14 million one-year deal. Cam with a very up-and-down first season in New England. But look, we've heard whispers this offseason. Bill Belichick was a big fan of the job that Cam did, despite the fact that Cam only threw 8 touchdowns. But he was a locker room presence. He was a leader on that team. And as we talked about, he could probably attract some free agents. Nick, what was your reaction to Cam's new deal?
Well, my immediate reaction, and I assume most people's, was really, really rough day for that high school football player who was calling Cam broke and a free agent. It's like, damn, now he's employed and has $14 million. Sucks. Tough day for me. But my other reaction was that I'm happy for Cam, and I do think that this is a good, I hate to, be super big picture, but I think it's a good lesson for everyone. That showing up, working hard, treating people well, doing what you're supposed to do can buy you some grace that you otherwise wouldn't get. Because the raw numbers and some of the raw film from last year's football season do not scream that bringing back Cam Newton would be a high priority. But Bill Belichick just proved to us that all of the words he was saying last year about Cam, he really believed him, Brandon. And it further showed why he never considered benching Cam while he took him out of games. He never benched him, meaning you're not going to start the following week. So he saw, and Coach Mangini talks a lot about, this is going to seem like an odd comp, but that they saw traits in Tom Brady his rookie season that even though he wasn't a great player, they knew they could build on. I think they saw some traits from Cam, from leadership, from work ethic, that they said he is a locker room plus, and they are hoping and betting on he's not going to get COVID again, obviously. He's going to be healthier. He's going to be more comfortable, and that he's going to be able to duplicate some of those highs. Because there were some highs last year. There were just a lot of really wow, what was that lows? And I also think, Brandon, lastly, before I go to you, I think it did demonstrate the Patriots don't have a great plan B. Stidham, Mariota, the 16th pick of the draft. None of those are great plan Bs. So for all those reasons, I think it made sense for both parties to come back together.
Yeah, well, what I look at is a couple things. One, this is Bill Belichick doing the right thing. 2, this is him taking accountability. What do I mean by doing the right thing? First of all, Cam Newton should have never been on a one-year deal at $1.7 million because that's not the going rate for a starting quarterback. Hell, that's not even a going rate for a backup quarterback. That is disrespectful. I had Ryan Fitzpatrick making more money than that as the backup to Geno Smith. I think we signed him for 2 for $12 before he came in and lit it up. We had Josh McCown go out there and get $6-7 million as a backup quarterback. So that's Bill Belichick doing the right thing, and I respect him for that. And then as far as the accountability part, this is Bill Belichick saying, Cam Newton, we know there's some things you need to clean up, but I didn't give you a tight end. I didn't give you a wide receiver. My defense that I thought was going to be able to carry us a little bit, they didn't. They imploded. So I think this is Bill Belichick doing the right thing and also taking accountability because it's not just one guy. Now, if we want to talk about Cam Newton, the biggest question mark around him, Wilds, is how is that shoulder? Can you still do it? And here's what I would say to that. I played with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I remember when Geno Smith went down. And I was like, oh, my goodness, it's over. I called my wife and I said, this is probably our last year because I'm not going to have any production. They're going to cut me or ask me to take a pay cut because we got Ryan Fitzpatrick. And why did I say that? Because Ryan Fitzpatrick could not complete a 5-yard hitch route. But what ended up happening is he got a little bit more healthy, and then he also got comfortable with what we were doing in the offense. So now you take Cam Newton, you bring him back. You give him the offseason in a complex scheme, and then you give him the preseason, and now he has time to get comfortable. You can turn on film and see that he was uncomfortable. There was wide open shots at Cam Newton. You've never seen that in New England. Tom Brady was always protected, not just because he had offensive linemen, but because of how they scheme things. So you could tell Cam was in his head too much. Now, is Cam Newton a guy wiles to go out there and throw for 4,000 yards, 5,000 yards? No, he's never done that. But Cam Newton can be efficient. Cam Newton can be Ryan Fitzpatrick and give you 10 wins. Cam Newton can be Josh McCown in 2013, where he plays 8 games and has 13 touchdowns and 1 interception. And that the way they did that is because they knew the game plan. The way they did that is because they were comfortable in their pre-snap operation. You give Cam Newton the offseason, and I'm telling you, you're going to see a much more comfortable and efficient Cam in the New England Patriots offense.
Okay, so Brandon, I'm going to throw the ball back to you. When I heard this news, I was excited. I'm generally optimistic.
Got it.
And on the heels of your podcast, when you were asking, hey, Cam, would you want to sign with New England? He said, yes, definitely. So I felt like this was coming, and I feel pretty good about it. The question is this.
Right.
Do you think the Patriots can win the Super Bowl with Cam Newton behind center? And if the answer is no, my optimism is going to go from here to there. We're not the Panthers. We're not, the Texans. We're not going to be happy with 500. We're trying to hang another banner. Tom Brady's coming back into Gillette. Tom Brady just won another championship. Bill Belichick knows it. I'm talking about Super Bowl. So do you feel like Cam can be the guy, and we know the leadership, we know that, but do you feel like that arm can carry the Patriots to the Super Bowl?
Well, I don't know about his arm, but I will tell you this. Yes, he can. Cam Newton can carry the New England Patriots to the Super Bowl if he's healthy, okay, and he has an offseason, and he has the 2019 New England Patriots defense, and he has the 2017 New England Patriots pass catchers, and he has Bill Belichick doing his job and making sure that he has an offensive line. So it's a lot of what-ifs out there. No, it's not just on one guy, Wilds. It takes way more than Cam Newton. Cam Newton needs to be healthy. We know that. Cam Newton needs to be more efficient, but it takes that defense. It takes that offense. We need wide receivers. We need tight ends. So Nick, I don't know how you see it. I think they have a long way to go, but this team could be, they should be better than a 6-win team with Cam Newton healthy and more comfortable.
Oh, yeah. And they should, and by the way, Wilds, I'll tell you what Bill Belichick believes. Get me into the tournament and see how much my coaching acumen and playoff experience helps our team if we get into the tournament. And is Cam a better option for them to become a playoff team again than Marcus Mariota or Stidham? But the other thing is this. Y'all have $50 million more that you can spend in free agency. What's the only thing we've heard this offseason about players in New England? Matt Stafford was like, not going there. I think you were going to have a tough time spending that money without overpaying. I think Cam Newton is a much better draw for a guy I know you want in Hunter Henry, for Kenny Galladay, maybe it convinces them to trade for Odell, or maybe makes Odell want to go there if he's on the move, because Cam still, Jenna, has massive cachet in this league. There are still amongst players huge respect and even for some admiration for Cam that you would not have if you traded for Mariota. So I think it makes their free agency period more likely to be successful, Jenna.
Maybe. They do need some weapons. We shall see. We got to go. We're not back here tomorrow. We'll see you Monday.